I first noticed that David wasn't developing as other kids. He will fall and he will not cry. He will get burned and he wouldn't feel it. I will call him, he wouldn't respond.
We took them to specialists and they diagnosed that David had autism. At that moment, we asked what we can do, how that could be cured, and they just frankly told us there's no cure. We can try to make him get better, but he will live with autism all his life.
When we moved to New York, we visited 4 churches looking for services for kids with special needs. Unfortunately, we didn't find any. When I first came to Christ Tabernacle, I used to sit all the way in the back. I felt I was being fed, but I knew David was lacking that spiritual learning. I always sat in the back because David was very disruptive, and I was always waiting for someone to come and pat me in the back and say, "Ma'am, can you please step aside with your child?" Because David looks very normal.
I've been working for children with special needs for about 8 years. I have my master's in special education. Right now, I work in a classroom with 8 to 1-to-1, which is 8 student and 2 assistant. When I finished CR 101, I was wondering about what ministry, should I join? And actually at that time, I thought about joining the culinary ministry. But then I heard about Side by Side, and I decided, wow, this is a great ministry for me. This is the ministry that I want to join.
My wife and I used to take turns with him at the Just for Kids, so we could be sure that he had somebody to be with him in case he needed.
My greatest fear when David started Just Kidz was that he might get lost and that the workers, not because they wanted to, but David will run away and he will try to hide, and this already had happened in another church.
I remember that at the beginning, the workers used to come to us and tell us that David is not participating. And at that moment we start feeling that we are getting fed of the Lord, but not David was missing it.
We didn't want him to be just babysit. We wanted him to love God the same way other kids do. David may be autistic, but he is very capable as any other kid. He reads, he writes, he speaks, he loves music. David is capable with the right direction. He can get very far.
For us, it's very frustrating as a family that every time we go any place or anywhere and he acts normally for us, people start looking at him weird or with his eyes, and we have to go and explain them that he lives with autism and that's the way he is.
Pastor Dave approached me and said that they were developing a side-by-side program. I asked him what it entailed, and he said, there will be a person that will sit with your son on a one-to-one basis, and he will learn from the Bible, he will learn how to worship, and he will have a relationship with God.
When I met David, basically he was just walking around the room while all the rest of the class was engaged in activity, although the children were sitting down. And David was just basically walking in his own world and not participating in any of the activity that the classes was doing at the time.
We had to rearrange our schedule from the 3 o'clock Spanish service, which is our first language, to the 9 o'clock English language, just to accommodate David's needs.
Every time I needed to switch a service, I would call Leonelda, and she was more than willing to accommodate and switch services in order to accommodate our needs, and that for me is very, very special.
Since Leonelda's been working with David every Sunday on a consistent basis, we had noticed a tremendous change of David at home.
Oh yes, he's been reading the Bible, worshiping, he sits and prays. When he lays down to bed, he also makes his prayers, he worships, he sings. He's a very different kid.
that for all the educators who are in the special ed field should consider joining the Side by Side, because parents need to feel that the children are with a person that understands them. Perhaps if I didn't have the experience that I have as a teacher and working with children with special needs, I probably wouldn't have the same connection with David. But the parent knew that this is my background, this is what I do, and they trust me. So I think that, and I encourage all the educators to please join the Side by Side, because it is a great ministry and we need great people. And these are children that are part of our community and we see them in our daily walk and they need us. They need us. And I know that there are other ministry that you could join. And like me, I wanted to go to culinary because I didn't want to continue doing what I do every day. But it is a need, and we need you. We need all the people to join us to make a difference, not only in the school, but also in our church.
Christ Tabernacle has been a blessing in our lives in terms of supporting us with our special need children.
We pray every day that more special need workers join the Just for Kids ministry so more kids can be blessed as ours.
We love you, Lil Nelda.